Hello Spring. Today I'm going to demonstrate this little tool that I built in the past few days. It's called the Spring kernel. It's an IPython kernel for the Jupyter Notebook, and it should help with the development a bit. I'm going to demonstrate the entire process from the installation and the actual usage as well. So it should be pretty simple. You need a Python environment, like a virtual environment. I'm going to show you how to set that up. So let's say you have a directory like this. You can create the environment by typing virtualenv and the environment name. Then you should source into the environment, and then you can install by using these instructions here. So it should be pretty simple. Let's copy this thing first. Now this will download the appropriate Python libraries and install them. It depends on Jupyter, the notebook, and a bunch of other stuff, but it all goes pretty smoothly. So we have this now. We can also install the actual kernel. I suggest you add this user as well, so it's installed in a local directory. Yeah, that's it then. We have this kernel set up here. Right. Okay, so now that this is done, we also need to install the widget and the gadget as well into the Spring project itself. To do this, I suggest you actually clone this repository, because you need to copy one folder from it, the Spring Lua folder. So I already did this, and I also took the Spring ABC archive. I'm going to show you how to set this up. So let's see. We have this thing, and we also have this thing. So this is Spring ABC. I did a few modifications to it, so it works well. I ported it to the newer engine. Let's see. So this is the Spring ABC, this is the C folder, so I'm going to use the chili folder. And for the chili version, I changed a few things. I changed this one line, so it works with the newer version of the engine. I think most games will have to do it as well, so that it uses this engine table as well. Basically copy this line from 0k. And I also modified modinfo to have a actual value for the version. This is used by the library to tell if it's a development version or not, because we don't want this Spring kernel to be running in the development version. Okay, so these are just the prerequisites, these two changes. Once you've done that, you should actually do the copying. So let's see. This is my Spring kernel library, so this is the thing that I cloned from GitHub. I can take this entire folder called Spring Lua, go into c.sdd, create a libs folder, okay, and copy this Spring Lua to the libs folder. So yeah, the copy is done now, and we want to change its name to kernel. Okay. The other thing that we need to do is get this file and copy it to the Lua UI and Lua roles folder. So this file will load the actual widget that's here and the actual gadget that's here. It just makes things easier. I mean, we can even see what it looks like. So yeah, depending on whether it's Lua UI or Lua rules, it's going to load the appropriate stuff. It's just a helper. So again, I'm going to copy this then. And I'm copying it to Lua UI widgets and also Lua rules gadgets. Right, so now everything should be set up. We can try running it. So the first thing, let's clear this up. The first thing is that first thing to do is to run this actual notebook. So Jupyter Notebook, here it is. Now if we set up everything correctly, we should have this SpringRTS thing. Normally it's used for Python, so let's just see if Python works. Yeah, Python works well. So now let's also see if the SpringRTS thing works. So you click here on New, and then click on SpringRTS. Okay, well, it seems to have started. It has this Spring icon as well. To check if the kernel itself is working, we can. Okay, so it seems that it is working well. It gives us the help, and we can also, let's look at this. We can also see what options we have and so on. Alice Magic. Okay. Alright, so this is set up then, and we should also run Spring itself. Now I have something running, let's call this. So let's run Spring itself. Now I have my own build. I suggest you get a new version so some functionalities work well as well, but it's not 100% necessary. So I've selected the C framework, okay, and I took comment catch redux. The map doesn't matter that much. So it has loaded it, and if it loaded it correctly, you're going to see. Let's see, where's the Lua UI? Where's that? Okay, so it loaded the gadget, right? It loaded a gadget, and the Lua UI is telling us that it's listening for the connection of the appropriate port. So this should be working now. Okay, so for some reason it says 0K, but anyway. Now let's actually see how this works. So will this work well? Now these two commands before were executed in the kernel itself. It didn't go to Spring, but now we're going to actually write some Lua code. So this is Lua code now, and we could use Spring Echo, for example, to display this variable. Now if we do that, it's going to be printed inside here. So we have this 12 now inside Spring. But that's not very useful if we want to do actual development, right? Because we would have to alt-tab all the time and see the results and all that. So there's this nice little helper function here. You can see it in LS Magic. _p. So _p works technically like Spring Echo, right? So just type what you want to be printed, it's going to be printed here. So how this actually works is, this code is sent through Jupyter and to the kernel, and it's actually executed in Spring, and the results are thrown here to the notebook. So this is very useful if you want to do some iterative development. You have like a small chili widget and you're changing it all the time. It's kind of annoying to have to change your code, go here, type Lua UI reload, wait for everything to reload and so on. It's a bit annoying, right? Let's see if I didn't break the connection. Okay, so it does kind of work, I guess. Sometimes it needs a... okay. So, it's sort of stable. It did manage to reconnect. I did a Lua UI reload now, and it did manage to reconnect, and it is working, right, pretty well. But in case there are some issues with your install, you might need to do some kernel restarts and so on. So if, for example, it didn't work now, you could try also restarting the kernel here and typing Lua UI reload in the game as well. But I think usually for most of the development it's fine. So as I was saying, normally when you develop some code for Spring, you're gonna do it in a editor like Atom or something, and you're gonna change this variable and then restart it, and then especially if it's something that's gonna pop up from a on click or so on, so you have to navigate through the menu, click, and see if you have the appropriate sizes, then you restart again and so on, and it can be kind of annoying. So that's one of the reasons I created all this. So let's play with it a bit more now. This printing function is pretty neat. It's essentially like Spring Echo, but it's also a bit better. So Spring Echo doesn't really work well with tables. I mean, this does, and that's pretty neat, I think. Right, so we can actually print tables as well. Let's demonstrate some larger tables. So let's say we have something like this, 1,000 elements, right? And that's something like this. Okay, let's make it simple. And we can print that as well with underscore p, underscore pi and fi. So right now this is 1,000 elements, but it can kind of trim it so you don't have like a huge number of them, and yeah, it's kind of flexible, right? Now this automatically saves every few minutes or something like that, but you can also press Ctrl-S and it's gonna do this checkpointing. There are a few bugs, you know. For example, I specified that this is Lua code, but it's not doing proper syntax highlighting, so you can always press F5 and it's gonna reload things. So this stuff is executed in Lua UI, right? Now we might want to do some things that require sync changes, right? So to do that, we're gonna type the percentage mark and then S Lua rules. Now this means it's gonna be executed in the synced state, right? And then we can do some sync changes. So let's just do something very simple like printing values. So that works well. We can also change the height map. Now, since I don't really remember how to do that, I'm going to look it up. We need two things. We need this square size first, because height map is in the square size resolution. Close this one, I don't need it anymore. So something like this. It's gonna start from, I don't know, 100 times this to 200 times this, and the step is gonna be this. And J can also be the same thing, right? Yeah. Now, kind of did it on purpose, but I forgot to write do here, so it's gonna tell me that, you know, I have an error here. You can also add lines by typing escape and L, so you can see like where the actual error is. That can be helpful. So we want to change the height map in all these points, and to do that we can check here ground height map. And let's see if we just use this. So ij, and let's say we want a height of 300. Yeah, so it tells us that this function, set height map, can only be done in the set height map function. And we can go here, see how it works. So the first argument is the Lua function, and then these are the arguments you would be passing to it, which we don't really care about. Okay, so we're going to wrap all this code in a function. I can do it, oh, I can do it like this. Okay. And now apparently something happened, right? And we can go here, and we won't see anything, of course, right? Because we don't have global loss line of sight. And now we have global line of sight, but it didn't have it updated. So we're gonna write again. Sorry. Then write again, and here it is. Yeah. So we can see how we managed to change this thing using a notebook. Now, since we won't be able to see it without alt-tabbing, it's not really useful for a tutorial, right? And to actually visualize this change, to visualize this thing that we made, I made another helper function, or a helper magic, I guess in this case, and this is the percentile mark show. So this will take a screenshot and show it in the notebook. Yeah, something like that. So now we can, you know, pretty much work completely in this notebook and not really care much about Spring at all. And this is very useful. I mean, as I said, it's very easy to experiment here. I can change this, I can then show it again, and it's gonna be a 400, you know, or I can make it pretty small. And it's not working for some reason. Why isn't it working? Well, it's probably not working because I'm not actually using this kind. Right. So now, and now we can see it's gone down. I think it has void map or something, so this is black. Probably don't want it to be black. Let's make it 0. Right, so it probably has some sort of void map. This is why it was 0. Right, so this is pretty easy to experiment with, right? You just change this one little thing and you run this again. So now this is just using the Spring function so far, so we haven't really used any custom thing. This is also possible. So let's say you have, you know, chili, which most people do. And this chili is in video chili. Now this is gonna fail. Why is this gonna fail? Well, it's gonna fail because it's running Lua rules synced. Since we want this code to be running UI, we have to actually preface. Now it's gonna work well. Just to verify it's an actual thing. Yeah, so it actually does exist. Okay. Alright, so usually people also like to have this screen as a variable, and then we can create our own chiller window. So window is something like this, and for parent we want screen, it's a screen 0 usually, right? Screen 0, and let's say it can start from 20%, 30%, and width can, height can, I guess it can be the same. It doesn't really matter much. Okay, so now it's created this. Let's show how it works. Just because I'm lazy, I don't like to alt up much. Okay, so here it is, and you know, I might say, well, maybe I want to actually have a much larger width. Now I can go here and I can change it. Let's say the width can be 50%. And one small little thing, because if we create a new window, and I don't want a new window, and I actually don't even want these guys to be executed again, because it seems kind of redundant, right? Let's separate this here. So this is gonna stay here, and we're going to see if this window exists, and if it does, we're gonna dispose of it. Well, this is, I guess, not required, but anyway. Right, so we can now execute this code again, and show again, and here it is. And you know, this makes it very easy to change things. Now I'm using show because demonstration purposes and so on. We can make it non-resizable and non-draggable. That should get rid of this little thing. Right, let's see. And it's gone. So, I mean, this isn't just fantasy, it's actually like that. Right? So I think this is pretty useful, right? You can run this code here without having to reload anything all the time, and so on. And you can, as I've shown, you can access some sort of globals that you might have in your project. Now, SpringABC doesn't really have much except for chiller, but if it's something like Chubby, then you will have a bunch of things in these globals. So maybe one more thing. like let's say that we have a bug here, that we have something that's, you know, not working really well, and we don't understand what's going on. So we could, you know, try to look at this function called chili window new by searching through the source code, and we could do something like this. So I need to go to actual Spring ABC, and I could try to find it like this, I guess. So I guess this is the signature, right? And it's gonna find it somewhere here, and I guess since I know it's this place, I can also visualize it like this and so on, but that's annoying, right? You have to grab source code and so on. So instead of doing that, what if there was a nice way to show it in the notebook? And in fact there is, because I made it. It's _s, and _s will show us the source code of most Lua functions. So here it is, right? You don't have to search for anything. We just took an object and wrote _s that function, sorry, so this is a function, and we said _s that function is going to show us the source code. It's not probably indented, couldn't get that to work well, but yeah, here it is, right? And it's not going to work for a few things. It's not going to work for Spring Active because that's a engine thing, yeah, but for these custom-made functions it's going to show us the actual code. So that's pretty neat, I think, right? You don't have to grep around and so on, search the source code. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I think this is very useful. It took me 4 days to make it, so that was kind of impressive on its own. And this is why I was so enthusiastic to show it. So it's useful for prototyping, for also doing some sort of tutorials, I think. I'd like to see some people make a chili tutorial, for example. This could be done with, you know, using this show thing. I even made a tutorial for this tool itself here. So if you go to this repository and you go to the examples, you will see this IPyMB. So IPy is R and Python. This is the Jupyter's original name, R and Python notebook. And I created a tutorial that can give you some sort of basic introduction how to use all these functionalities. Oddly enough, it's not printing this in info, so it's not really caring for my CSS apparently. Oh well, but yeah, still you can see how to use it. You know, I can visualize things, pretty much the things that I was showing here. And yeah, you can distribute these things easily, right? This is on GitHub, so I guess you can also make a tutorial for chili as well. Unfortunately, it is kind of large, I guess, because these are all PNGs, and 4 megabytes for, you know, this little text and a few images is a bit too much. I wish we could have these in JPEG, but well, that's just how it is. Anyway, I hope it's helpful. This is already on GitHub and it's already on pip, so you can use it, I think, immediately. I'm gonna create a post on the SpringRTS forums now. By the time you've seen this, it's probably gonna be there already. That's it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me and post there. Thank you. Bye.